6 causes of muscle cramps in young adults. It often starts as a mild twitch, then quickly tightens into a sharp, unrelenting spasm. If you're young and healthy, a sudden muscle cramp might feel like a random inconvenience, a fleeting moment, easily brushed off. But what if it's not so random after all? What if your body is whispering something deeper, and we've just learned to ignore it? Muscle cramps aren't just for athletes or older adults. Increasingly, young people, even those in their teens or 20s, are reporting these sudden involuntary contractions. While some blame dehydration or fatigue, the truth is more complex. Behind each cramp could lie a hidden signal about your diet, your habits, even your emotional state. Why do these cramps happen, and what do they say about your health? In this piece, we will explore 6 often overlooked causes of muscle cramps in young adults. From electrolyte imbalances to stress-induced tension, from overtraining to nutrient deficiencies, each factor tells a story. Not just about muscles, but about how we live, how we rest, and what we may be missing. This isn't just about pain, it's about awareness, because sometimes the body shouts when the heart stays silent, and listening might just change everything. Part 1. The silent messengers. Electrolyte imbalances, muscle cramps, don't always come from the outside. Sometimes they arise from a quiet chemical storm within. And more often than not, the culprits are electrolytes. You've probably heard the word tossed around in sports drinks commercials or gym conversations. But what are electrolytes really? And why do they matter? Electrolytes are minerals like sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium that carry an electric charge. They are the invisible conductors of your body's orchestra. They regulate your heartbeat, allow your nerves to send signals, help your muscles contract and relax, and even keep your body's hydration levels in check. When these minerals fall out of balance, even slightly, your muscles can respond with tension, spasms, and sudden cramps. For young adults, especially those who appear healthy, electrolyte imbalances can be stealthy. The signs aren't always dramatic. A mild twitch, here a late-night foot cramp there. Maybe your eye flutters more often. Maybe your calves tighten after a walk. And in our fast-paced lives, we rarely stop to ask, why is this happening? Yet, imbalance can come from the simplest of choices: skipping meals, drinking too much, coffee or alcohol, excessive sweating during exercise, or following crash diets that strip away essential nutrients. Even stress, that quiet pressure cooker simmering under daily life, can shift your body's electrolyte distribution, especially magnesium, often dubbed the calm mineral. One of the most overlooked aspects is how water on its own is not always enough. Drinking gallons won't solve a cramp if your body lacks the minerals it needs to hold onto that fluid or pass signals between cells. Imagine pouring water into a phone. It doesn't work unless there's a functioning battery and circuits. Your muscles are the same. Without the proper charge, the connection breaks and a cramp follows. Let's take a closer look at 4 key electrolytes involved in muscle function and how an imbalance in each one can quietly set the stage for muscle cramps. Sodium, Na+, the gatekeeper of fluid balance. Sodium helps regulate fluid levels inside and outside your cells. It also plays a critical role in nerve signaling. If you sweat heavily, through exercise or simply living in a hot climate, and don't replace the sodium lost, your cells can become thirsty. Muscles misfire. Cramping is often the first sign. Yet many young people today, in their quest to be health conscious, avoid salt entirely, unaware that too little can be just as harmful as too much. Finding balance matters. Potassium, K+. The muscle whisperer, potassium works hand in hand with sodium to regulate muscle contractions and nerve impulses. A low potassium level can cause muscle weakness, fatigue, and, yes, cramps. Banana. Lovers often tout this fruit as a fix, and for good reason. It's rich in potassium. But so are sweet potatoes, spinach, and even avocados. A fast food lifestyle filled with processed meals and lacking fresh produce often lacks this vital mineral. Calcium, Ca2+, the spark of contraction. Calcium doesn't just build strong bones, it plays a direct role in muscle contraction. Without enough calcium, Your muscles can become overly excitable and contract uncontrollably. Women in particular, especially young women who diet aggressively or have irregular periods, may unknowingly have low calcium levels, and cramps become the early warning sign. Magnesium, Mg2+. The peacekeeper if calcium is the spark, magnesium is the brake. It helps muscles relax after contraction. A deficiency here is often behind persistent, hard-to-explain cramps, especially at night. Stress, poor sleep, processed foods all deplete magnesium quietly. You may not notice but until one night your leg locks up and won't let go. The modern life disconnect. How young adults become deficient. Without realizing, you don't have to be an athlete to lose electrolytes. In fact, some of the most common triggers for imbalance are built into modern routines, invisible everyday habits that quietly drain your reserves. Take caffeine, for instance. It's the lifeblood of early mornings, late-night study sessions, and long work hours. But caffeine is also a diuretic. It pushes water and electrolytes out of your system faster than your body can replace them. Add in stress, mental, physical, or emotional, and you create a perfect storm. Cortisol, the stress hormone, encourages the body to excrete magnesium. So if you're always wired but tired, pushing through with lattes and deadlines, cramps may just be your body's final flare for help. Or consider restrictive eating. Whether it's skipping meals to save time, following low-carb diets, or eating mostly processed foods on the go, many young adults today are undernourished, in subtle, chronic ways. A diet lacking real fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds slowly deprives the body of essential minerals. You might feel fine for a while, until that fine line cracks in the form of nightly leg cramps, sudden spasms, or fatigue that won't go away. Even hydration habits can betray you. Drinking a lot of plain water without adequate salt or mineral intake can dilute your electrolytes, especially sodium. This is known as hyponatremia, a condition where sodium levels become too low. It's more common than people think, especially among health-conscious individuals who overhydrate during exercise or in hot weather without considering mineral replacement. Cramps as a warning, not a flaw. It's important to shift the way we view muscle cramps. They are not just random misfires or signs of weakness. They are signals, feedback, a message from the body that something is off-kilter, that balance has been lost. Imagine your muscles as tightly wound ropes. To function smoothly, these ropes rely on the right amount of tension and fluid. Electrolytes are the hands that adjust the ropes, loosen them when needed, and tighten when necessary. When those hands are absent, the rope pulls too hard, and that's when a cramp happens. It's not failure. It's overcompensation. And that's why treating cramps only with stretching or massage is like silencing an alarm without checking for fire. The real fix lies beneath the surface, in nourishment, hydration, and restoring the body's quiet chemistry. How to restore balance? Without gimmicks. The good news? Restoring electrolyte balance doesn't require expensive supplements or trendy drinks. It begins with small intentional changes. Add a pinch of natural sea salt to your meals, not the heavily processed table salt. Natural salts contain trace minerals like magnesium and calcium that support overall balance. Eat potassium-rich foods daily. Bananas, spinach, sweet potatoes, oranges, beans, and avocados are excellent sources. Try mixing them into smoothies or bowls you enjoy. Include magnesium-rich snacks like pumpkin seeds, dark leafy greens, almonds, and dark chocolate. Especially helpful before bed to prevent nighttime cramps. Rehydrate smartly. During workouts or hot days, opt for homemade electrolyte waters, like lemon water with a pinch of salt and honey, instead of only plain water or sugary drinks. B. Mindful of medications. Diuretics, some birth control pills, and certain antidepressants can alter electrolyte levels. Always check with your doctor if cramps persist. A final word on magnesium, the mineral of calm. Let's take a final moment to talk about magnesium, because for many young adults, this is the silent gap. Magnesium doesn't just help your muscles relax. It also regulates mood, supports sleep, and balances hormones. A deficiency in magnesium is often linked to anxiety, insomnia, and, yes, muscle cramps, particularly at night or under stress. If your lifestyle is high pressure, fast-paced, or emotionally demanding, and let's be honest, whose isn't, you may be depleting magnesium faster than you can replenish it. Sometimes the solution isn't to do more, but to restore more deeply. Magnesium invites rest. It teaches the muscles and the mind how to soften again. Even your breath feels different when magnesium levels rise. Muscle cramps caused by electrolyte imbalance are rarely just physical. They are the body's reminder that even in youth, energy isn't infinite. That strength isn't just about force, but about flow, the gentle dance of minerals, fluids, and intention working in harmony. And when that harmony breaks, the body speaks, not to punish, but to realign. Listen to that whisper. Sometimes the ache in your leg at 2 a.m. is not a nuisance, but a message. Come back into balance. Part 2. The dry truth. Dehydration and inadequate fluid. Intake, it's a simple need, but a profound one. Water is life, not just poetically, but biologically. Every cell, every muscle fiber, every nerve impulse depends on it. And yet, in the rush of modern living, many young adults walk through their days mildly, chronically dehydrated, not gasping for water, but not truly nourished either. The body learns to cope, but eventually it speaks, and one of its most direct voices is the cramp. You might think, but I drink water every day, and that's likely true. But hydration isn't only about volume, it's about absorption, timing, and retention. In other words, it's not just how much water you drink, but how your body uses it. The slow drift into dehydration. The tricky thing about dehydration is that it doesn't always come with obvious symptoms. You don't need to feel thirsty to be dehydrated. By the time thirst arrives, your body has already lost a meaningful percentage of fluid. In young adults, dehydration often builds quietly, through long hours indoors with air conditioning, through late nights powered by caffeine, or through busy days where food and drink become afterthoughts. And in our tech-driven, high-stimulation world, many people live in their heads, chasing deadlines, scrolling feeds, solving problems, and forget to check in with their body until it pulls the emergency brake, often in the form of a spasm. How dehydration triggers cramps. Muscles are made of nearly 80% water. For them to contract and relax smoothly, that water must move freely within and between muscle cells. When dehydration sets in, two major things happen. Blood flow becomes sluggish, reducing the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to muscles. This makes them tire faster and recover slower. Electrolyte concentration becomes unstable, either too diluted or too concentrated, disrupting the nerve signals that tell muscles how and when to contract. The result? Misfiring, spasms, cramps. In a way, dehydration creates static in your body's communication system. The messages become garbled. The muscles don't know whether to hold or release, so they seize, desperately waiting for clarity. That never comes. The digital dehydration dilemma. There's a subtle irony here. In an age where we track steps, heart rates, sleep cycles, and screen time, hydration often goes unmeasured. The body may be screaming for water, while our mind is focused on emails, messages, and to-do lists. Young adults today are connected more than ever, but often disconnected from the most basic biological cues. We override fatigue with caffeine. We mask tension with productivity. And thirst? We postpone it. Or worse, we mistake it for hunger, boredom, or anxiety. It's no wonder that nighttime cramps, especially in the calves or feet, often follow days of forgotten hydration. When water isn't enough, here's another truth few talk about. Drinking water alone isn't always hydrating. That sounds strange, but stay with me. When you drink plain water without any electrolytes, especially after sweating or exercising, your body may not retain it effectively. You might absorb some, but you'll excrete most. This is why some people drink several bottles of water and still feel sluggish, crampy, or lightheaded. Proper hydration requires both fluid and minerals. Sodium, potassium, and magnesium help your body hold onto the water you drink, distribute it to the right places, and use it to fuel your cells. That's why traditional cultures added salt to broths, or drank coconut water in tropical heat. It wasn't random. It was deeply intuitive hydration. The quiet dehydrators, caffeine, alcohol, and high-sodium junk food. Now, let's talk about what works against your hydration, even if you're drinking water. Caffeine, found in coffee, energy drinks, and soda. It increases urination and can lead to fluid loss. 1 cup won't harm you, but several cups without extra water can. Alcohol. Even 1 or 2 drinks can dehydrate significantly, especially when combined with dancing, heat, or poor sleep. Ever had cramps after a night out? That's no coincidence. Processed foods. Chips, instant noodles, and salty snacks can create a sense of thirst while disrupting the body's fluid balance. They overload sodium without the potassium or magnesium to balance it. Restoring deep hydration. Day by day, hydrating. Deeply doesn't mean chugging liters of water. It means building hydration into your lifestyle, gently, consistently, with attention. Here's how. Start your day with water. After 7-8 hours of sleep, your body is naturally dehydrated. A glass of water first thing in the morning wakes up your organs before caffeine kicks in. Add a pinch of mineral salt or a squeeze of lemon. This helps the body absorb and retain fluid better, especially after exercise. Eat your water. Fruits, like watermelon, oranges, cucumbers, and strawberries, are full of water and minerals. They hydrate more deeply than plain water alone. Drink before you're thirsty. Don't wait. Build reminders into your day, gentle sips every hour instead of gulping at once. Balance your coffee or alcohol. For every cup of coffee or drink of alcohol, match it with a glass of water. Part 3. Overexertion and muscle fatigue. When strength turns into strain, there's a moment every young adult knows too well. You push through a workout, feeling strong, unstoppable even. You finish your run, your lifting session, your dance class, and your body buzzes with that electric feeling of effort well spent. But then, a few hours later, or perhaps in the stillness of the night, your calf tightens like a coiled spring, or your hamstring tugs, and suddenly, the high of achievement turns into a silent wince, a muscle cramp, uninvited and unforgiving. We live in a culture that praises hustle. No pain, no gain. Push harder, run faster, lift more. But in the quiet spaces of recovery, the body keeps its own score. And when muscles cramp from fatigue, they're not punishing you. They're simply saying, that was too much, too fast, without enough rest. This part, we explore how overexertion, both in exercise and everyday life, silently leads to muscle cramping in the young and strong. The fatigue factor, why tired muscles misbehave. A muscle cramp is often misunderstood as a spasm of too much energy. In truth, it's more often a sign of depletion, of a muscle pushed past its threshold without enough fuel, rest, or recovery. Here's how it happens. During exertion, especially high intensity or prolonged activity, your muscles rely on stored energy, glycogen, and oxygen to contract and release smoothly. As you push harder, those reserves begin to deplete, and lactic acid builds up. Blood flow may reduce, especially if you're dehydrated or tight. Once a muscle reaches its fatigue point, the neuromuscular control system becomes unstable. Your brain sends confusing signals. Some fibers are told to relax, others to contract. This confusion leads to a cramp, a tight knot where release is lost. It's not just about strength, it's about coordination. And when muscles get tired, that coordination unravels. The invisible overtraining in daily life overexertion isn't limited to gyms or sports. In today's world, many young adults overuse their bodies without realizing it. Standing for long hours at work, commuting daily on foot or bike, carrying heavy backpacks, or even sitting for extended periods in tense postures, all of this creates micro-strain on specific muscle groups. Add to that the rise of weekend warrior culture, going from sedentary weekdays to intense activity on weekends, and the risk of fatigue-induced cramping grows even more. Think of your muscles like rubber bands. Use them gently and consistently, and they stay supple. But stretch them too hard, too fast, or too long without letting them rebound, and they snap back, sometimes painfully. When recovery is skipped, cramps speak louder. In fitness, We often talk about effort, but not enough about repair. Muscles grow and strengthen during rest, not during work. Without adequate sleep, nutrition, and time to heal, even the fittest body begins to unravel beneath the surface. Young adults often believe they're invincible, and in many ways their bodies are resilient. But resilience isn't infinite. Lack of recovery silently chips away at that buffer. And cramps, they're one of the first signals, a red flag that says you didn't rest enough before you pushed again. The restorative pause, giving muscles room to breathe. If you've ever cramped mid-workout or after intense effort, the solution isn't always more stretching or supplements. Sometimes it's slowing down. Recovery doesn't mean laziness, it means strategy. Thoughtful cycles of effort and ease, active rest days and light walks, yoga, gentle swimming, keep blood flowing without overloading muscles. Sleep, deep, consistent sleep, allows the brain to recalibrate neuromuscular patterns, reducing misfires and spasm risk. Breathwork and nervous system regulation. High effort stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. Without parasympathetic recovery, rest and digest, the body stays on edge. This imbalance can lead to tightness and cramping, especially at night. Signs you're overtraining, even if you feel fine. One reason overexertion causes sneaky cramps is because fatigue hides behind pride. We often don't admit we're tired until our body says it for us. Here are subtle signs of muscular overuse and fatigue. You wake up sore every day, not just after intense effort. You cramp at rest, especially at night or during stillness. You feel weaker or slower in movements that used to feel easy. You have frequent tightness or knots in specific muscles. You stretch often, but the relief doesn't last. These are not failures. They are feedback. Fueling recovery. What muscles? Crave after work fatigued muscles are hungry muscles, and what you feed them matters. After exertion, muscles need carbohydrates to replenish glycogen, proteins to repair microtears, electrolytes and fluids to rehydrate cells and restore nerve balance, magnesium to reduce residual tension and promote muscle relaxation. Skipping post-workout meals, relying on protein alone or under-eating in general can all worsen recovery and make cramps more likely. The best post-exertion ritual. A balanced meal, followed by 10-15 minutes of quiet, breath-focused rest. Let your body feel the exhale. The recovery begins there. Part 4. The stillness that hurts. Prolonged sitting and poor posture. Not all pain comes from action. Some come from inaction. And in the quiet stillness of modern life, our muscles whisper, then shout their discomfort. We weren't built to sit, at least not the way we do today. Yet the average young adult today spends 6 to 12 hours a day seated, in front of screens, in cars, at desks, in coffee shops, even while relaxing. We call it rest, but for the body and especially the muscles, it's often the beginning of quiet strain. You don't have to be an athlete to suffer cramps. Sometimes all it takes is sitting still too long, in the wrong way, for too many days. This is the paradox. Inactivity can create hyperactive muscles. Not in strength, but in tension. Let's explore why. Muscles were made to move. Muscles are designed for dynamic motion. They contract and release, stretch and shorten, pump and pulse like a living tide. Movement is their language. Stillness, ironically, is foreign. When we sit for long hours, and especially with poor posture, we interrupt the natural flow of blood, oxygen, and nerve signals to key muscle groups. Certain muscles get locked short, like the hip flexors or calves, while others become chronically overstretched, like the hamstrings or lower back. Over time, this creates stiffness, restricted circulation, built-up tension in localized areas, and these are the perfect ingredients for cramps, especially sudden ones triggered when we finally do move. The posture cramp connection. Have you ever stretched your leg after sitting for hours, only to feel it seize in a tight knot? That's not coincidence. It's the result of neuromuscular confusion caused by prolonged static posture. When you sit in a poor position, slouched shoulders, tilted pelvis, knees tucked under, feet unsupported, several muscles are in non-optimal tension for hours. They don't get a break even though you think you're resting. And when you stand, stretch, or shift suddenly, those overshortened or overworked muscles may react with a spasm. Not because they're weak, but because they're trapped. Think of posture as body memory. Sit poorly long enough and your muscles learn to hold tension, even when you're asleep. The digital desk trapped nowhere is this more visible than at the modern workstation. Young adults today live in a world of laptops placed too low, phones held too close to the chest, shoulders, rounded inward neck, craned forward lower back unsupported. This posture doesn't just cause tight shoulders. It shifts the entire musculoskeletal chain, leading to tight calves and hamstrings from bent knees, locked hip flexors from prolonged flexion, cramped lower back muscles from lack of lumbar support, restricted ankle mobility from immobility, and plantar flexion. Add a sedentary lifestyle to this. Little stretching, poor hydration, and stress, and cramps become a frequent companion. Your body isn't lazy, it's tense. Here's the irony. When cramps arise from stillness, people often blame themselves for not exercising enough. But sometimes what your body truly needs isn't more effort, it's smarter motion. Long sitting creates tonic tension, a low-grade chronic muscular activation that doesn't relax. It's not full effort, but it's not rest either. Muscles hover in a half-engaged state, and they're exhausted. When you suddenly ask these half-engaged muscles to work, like standing up quickly, climbing stairs, or shifting in bed, they cramp, because they were never really at rest. Micro-movements, the antidote to static living. You don't need to overhaul your life to fix posture-induced cramps. You just need to interrupt the stillness. Try these small, powerful changes. Set a 30-40-minute timer. Stand, stretch, shake out your legs. Sit on the floor for 10 minutes daily. It naturally opens your hips and shifts posture. Elevate your screen. Keep your chin level and shoulders back. Stretch your calves and hips daily. These are often the most neglected areas. Use a standing desk part of the day. Even 1-2 hours can improve circulation. The goal isn't to never sit but to sit consciously. Posture is a practice, not a position. Nighttime cramps from daytime stillness. One of the most painful expressions of poor posture is nighttime leg cramps. You spend the day seated, your calves shortened, your hips tight. Then at night, your body tries to reset, and in that release, muscles contract unpredictably. This is why so many young adults experience sudden calf cramps in bed, even if they haven't worked out. The body isn't recovering from effort, it's unraveling from tension. The solution? A simple 3-minute stretch routine before bed. Gently stretch your calves, hamstrings, and hip flexors. Breathe. Let the muscles know it's safe to relax. Often, that's all it takes. Part 5. Nutritional deficiencies. When your muscles cry out for minerals, a cramp can feel like betrayal. You eat, you sleep, you move. Yet in the quiet of the night or the middle of your day, a muscle seizes, locks, and refuses to let go. But what if that cramp isn't caused by movement at all? What if it's rooted in something much quieter, more invisible? Something inside you, like a lack of the very minerals that keep your muscles calm. For many young adults today, cramps are not from overuse. They're from undernourishment, not of calories, but of elements: magnesium, potassium, calcium, sodium, tiny but essential. Silent but powerful. This is the story of how your muscles speak when they're missing what they need. The electrolyte symphony. How minerals prevent cramping. Your muscles move through a delicate balance of electricity and chemistry. Every time a muscle contracts, it does so because your brain sends a tiny electrical signal, a nerve impulse, that depends on the smooth flow of electrolytes. Electrolytes are minerals dissolved in your body's fluids. The most important for muscle function include magnesium, calms the nervous system and helps muscles relax after contraction; potassium, maintains cellular fluid balance and supports nerve function; calcium, initiates muscle contraction and helps nerves communicate; sodium, assists with fluid balance and the transmission of nerve signals. When these are in balance, muscles contract and relax in harmony. But when one or more are missing, or even slightly low, that harmony breaks, and sometimes it breaks with a cramp. The hidden deficiencies in the modern diet. Many young people today eat plenty, but they're still malnourished at the micronutrient level. Why? Because modern diets are often high in processed foods, which are low in magnesium and potassium, low in leafy greens, seeds, nuts, and quality dairy, high in sugar, caffeine, and alcohol, which deplete key minerals, rushed and repetitive, with little variety or balance. Even those who eat healthy might skip breakfast, fast too long, or neglect hydration, all of which worsen electrolyte imbalance. So, while your plate may look full, your cells might be starving, and your muscles. They feel it first. Sodium isn't always the villain. Many health messages tell us to fear sodium, and for good reason, in cases of high blood pressure or kidney disease. But for young, active individuals, or those who sweat often, too little sodium can be just as problematic. Sodium is essential for conducting nerve signals, balancing fluids in and out of muscle cells, maintaining blood pressure during heat or exercise. When you're low on sodium, muscles misfire, and one common symptom? Leg cramps, especially after exercise, sauna use, or dehydration. Balance is key. Avoiding excess is wise, but avoiding salt completely can make you cramp silently and often. Magnesium, the relaxation mineral. Most people lack magnesium. Fear's perhaps the most underconsumed mineral in the modern world, yet it plays a key role in over 300 bodily processes, including regulating muscle relaxation, supporting energy production, calming the nervous system, preventing overstimulation of nerve endings. A lack of magnesium leads to twitching muscles, restless legs, night cramps, fatigue that doesn't go away. Young adults under stress, athletes, or those who consume a lot of caffeine or alcohol are especially prone to depletion. If your calves cramp at night or your eyelids twitch during the day, magnesium might be missing. Good sources include pumpkin seeds, spinach, almonds, dark chocolate, and whole grains. Potassium, the gentle giant of cellular health. Potassium lives inside your cells, quietly maintaining order. It keeps your muscles soft, your nerves alert, and your heartbeat steady. But when potassium is low, even mildly, muscles become irritable, and cramps follow. Young adults often lack potassium because they eat fewer fresh fruits and vegetables, sweat frequently without replenishing, drink too much caffeine, or use diuretics. Don't. Hydrate with mineral-rich fluids. Low potassium doesn't cause instant collapse. It causes subtle chronic muscle tension. And when you stretch or move in just the wrong way, a cramp forms. Bananas are a good source, yes, but so are avocados, potatoes, oranges, beans, and coconut water. Calcium, not just for bones. Calcium is famous for its role in bone health, but it's also essential for muscle contraction. Without enough calcium, muscles can't contract properly, and the nervous system becomes hypersensitive. This creates a paradox: weak contractions and tight spasms at the same time. Many young people avoid dairy or consume very little. While that's not always harmful, it becomes a problem if it's not replaced with other calcium-rich foods, like tofu, fortified milk alternatives, or leafy greens. If your cramps feel deep, slow to release, and painful, low calcium may be at play. Water carries the message. None of these minerals work alone. They require hydration to move through your body. Water is the channel, the conductor, the river through which minerals flow. Without enough water, electrolytes become concentrated or imbalanced, muscles become dry, less elastic, more rigid. Blood flow to muscle tissue decreases, cramping risk increases, so the best mineral in the world is useless if it can't reach your muscles. That's why hydration isn't a side note. It's the foundation. Part 6. Stress and emotional tension, the body's silent battlefield. Some battles don't leave bruises. Some wars happen quietly, in the space between thoughts, in the stillness before sleep, in the silence of our chests, and yet they leave scars, tightness, fatigue, and sometimes cramps. You see, not all muscle cramps come from physical causes. Some arise from emotional tension, from the deep, silent strain that stress places on the nervous system and the body's tissues. If you've ever been through a tough time, emotionally drained, anxious, restless, and noticed your jaw clenched, shoulders tight, legs twitching, or a sudden cramp at night, you've felt this connection. The body doesn't ignore stress, it stores it. The nervous system, where thoughts become tension. Your muscles don't act on their own. They respond to signals from the nervous system, a vast electrical web that links body and mind, and your nervous system is split into two parts. Sympathetic. Nervous system. The fight or flight response. Parasympathetic nervous system. The rest and digest response. When you're calm, the parasympathetic system dominates. Your muscles rest. Blood flows easily. Digestion works. Breathing is deep, but when you're stressed, even if it's subtle or unspoken, the sympathetic system takes over. Adrenaline rises. Breathing becomes shallow. Blood flow shifts away from muscles and digestion toward survival, and your body starts to tense. Shoulders rise, legs tighten, neck stiffens. Hands clench. Muscles remain in a low-grade state of contraction, never fully relaxed. This constant readiness creates the perfect ground for spontaneous muscle cramps. The anxiety cramp cycle. Anxiety doesn't always look like panic. Sometimes it looks like a restless foot, a tight thigh, or a muscle twitch that won't go away. Here's how the cycle works. Stress triggers the sympathetic nervous system. Breathing becomes shallow and fast. Blood becomes less oxygenated. Muscles receive less. Circulation tension builds in areas like calves, back, neck, or hamstrings. One sudden move, and the muscle spasms. The cramp feels physical, but its root is emotional overload, and worse, cramps themselves create more stress, feeding a loop of worry and discomfort. Where do you store your stress? Different people store emotional tension in different body parts. This is often subconscious, shaped by years of posture, trauma, or personality. Some common patterns: leg cramps, often tied to anxiety about moving forward, fear of the future. Shoulder and back cramps, burdens of responsibility, emotional. Weight, abdominal tension, fear, insecurity, suppressed emotion. Jaw or face tension, control, frustration, repressed communication. It's not woo-woo, it's neuromuscular memory. Your body remembers what your heart tries to forget, and when emotional load becomes too heavy, the muscle system acts out. Stress during sleep. Why nighttime cramps are emotional too. Have you ever had a terrible day but you didn't let yourself cry, didn't pause to breathe, just pushed through? Then that night, a muscle suddenly cramps in your calf or thigh, sharp, burning, almost punishing. That's not random. When you sleep, your nervous system tries to rebalance itself. It shifts into the parasympathetic state, deep rest, recovery. But if your body is holding tension from daytime stress, that shift can trigger unpredictable nerve signals. And the result? A cramp in your most vulnerable muscle groups. It's as if the body says, "You may not have felt your pain in the day, but I will show you now." Healing through breath, stillness, and softness. So how do we reduce emotionally rooted cramps? Not through force, not through medication alone, but through softness, through restoring the body's safety signal. Here are gentle yet powerful tools. Breathwork. Deep diaphragmatic breathing calms the nervous system and increases oxygen to muscles. Gentle stretching, especially at night, with calm music or silence. Yoga nidra, a meditative body scan that relaxes each muscle. Group expressive journaling. Writing emotions helps discharge muscular tension. Warm baths with magnesium salts. The body relaxes in warmth and replenishment. Emotional awareness. Simply acknowledging where you carry your stress can begin the healing. When the nervous system feels safe, the muscles let go. A quiet story. The girl who couldn't sleep. There was a young woman named Lynn, 27 years old, who worked hard in a high-pressure tech job. She was successful on the outside, but inside she often felt overwhelmed. Every night she struggled with tight calves, sometimes full cramps that woke her up. She tried supplements, hydration, even massages. Nothing helped for long. One evening, her grandmother noticed her rubbing her legs and asked softly, "Kona sao kon konkuch? Bokangai nai konko jiugi lam kon metsao?" "Why don't you cry, child? Wasn't there anything today that made you tired?" Lynn broke down. For the first time in weeks, she let herself feel. She cried deeply and honestly. That night her muscles didn't cramp. It wasn't magic. It was release. The muscles weren't the problem. The tension inside was. In closing, listen gently. Your body is not your enemy. It doesn't cramp to punish you. It cramps to signal you to rest, to breathe, to feel, to soften. In a world of rush and noise, we often ignore our internal landscape, but the body remembers. And sometimes, a cramp is just your nervous system whispering, "Please, let go now." You don't have to hold it all. Closing. Reflections. A gentle blueprint for healing muscle cramps in the young body. So much of what cramps reveal isn't about the muscle. It's about the whole being, a signal, not a symptom, a language, not a failure. Now that we've explored the 6 causes of muscle cramps in young adults, from dehydration and overtraining to emotional tension and nutritional gaps, we can begin to ask not just, how do I stop this, but deeper. What is this cramp asking me to notice? Because once you understand the root, healing stops being a chase. It becomes a return to balance, softness, and self-awareness. Here is a quiet, warm blueprint, not a checklist, but a rhythm for gently walking yourself out of cramp and into calm. Step 1. Rehydrate with intention. Don't just drink water. Drink smart water. Slowly, consistently, and with minerals. Add a pinch of sea salt or electrolyte drops to your morning water sip slowly throughout the day. Avoid chugging large amounts at once. Choose coconut water, broths, or mineral-rich teas to support balance. Listen to thirst, but also anticipate it, especially in dry, hot, or stressful conditions. Think of water, not as a task, but as a ritual of reconnection. Step 2. Feed your muscles. The missing minerals cramping is often a whisper that something is lacking. Before you reach for supplements, ask, am I getting enough magnesium from food? Seeds, leafy greens, beans. Do I eat potassium-rich foods daily? Bananas, potatoes, avocado, citrus. Have I completely avoided salt or consumed too much? Is my diet rich in color, fiber, and variety, or processed and repetitive? If you suspect deficiency, start slow. Even small improvements can shift the internal chemistry toward ease. Step 3. Respect movement, but balance it with stillness. Movement is vital. But overtraining is a form of self-neglect too. Alternate intense workouts with restorative movement. Walks, gentle yoga, swimming. Warm up thoroughly before exercise. Stretch and breathe slowly afterward. Use foam rollers, magnesium lotions, and slow body scans to release stored tension. Listen for signs of overuse, soreness that lingers, irritability, shallow sleep. Remember, your strength is not proven in exhaustion, it's revealed in balance. Step 4. Calm the nervous system. Every day, not just in crisis, the modern nervous system is constantly overstimulated. Noise, screens, deadlines, internal dialogue. Even without realizing it, you may be in fight or flight for hours. Create a daily ritual of stillness. Even 10 minutes can rewire the tone of your body. Try gentle breath work. Inhale 4 sec. Exhale 6 to 8 sec. Guided body scans or yoga nidra. Before bed, nature walks without devices. Evening light fasts. Turning off screens 1 hour before sleep. Journaling emotions you didn't speak during the day. The body doesn't forget peace. Sometimes it just needs to be invited back. Step 5. Prioritize rest as a biological need. Cramps often strike during or after poor sleep. Why? Because healing, nervous system repair, and mineral regulation all occur during rest. Tips to improve sleep. Avoid caffeine after 2 p.m. Dim lights and reduce blue light exposure before bed. Stretch gently for 5–10 minutes to signal wind down, eat. A small magnesium-rich snack like pumpkin seeds or banana. Sleep in a cool, dark, quiet room. Sleep isn't laziness, it's muscular medicine. Step 6. Tend to the emotional roots. Ask yourself gently, when was the last time I cried, not from pain, but from release? What burden am I carrying in silence? Is there a part of my body that always tightens when I'm anxious? Am I moving forward in life forward or stuck somewhere emotionally? The cramps that return again and again, in the same place at the same time, may not be asking for magnesium. They may be asking for grief to be honored, fear to be spoken, stress to be softened. Seek safe places. A therapist, a journal, a forest path, a trusted friend. Speak, breathe, soften, and sometimes that's all the body needed. A final word, the kindness of cramping. It may sound strange, but what if your cramp was a kindness? What if it was your body saying, "You've gone too far, too fast, please slow down, you forgot to feed me what I need. You've been holding on too tightly, let me help you let go." Instead of reacting with frustration, respond with compassion. Because your body, like your spirit, doesn't want to punish you, it only wants to bring you home.